On one hand, I can't believe I'm going here, but I don't know where else to go. I think you can tell me I'm wrong. I feel free to disagree. And in some weird way, I'd like to be wrong. I think the data backs it up. I'm sorry, face painters. I think the data is going to back it up. So for Cowboys face painters, they're going to go to two places. A lot of fans are going to be going to two places. One place is they're going to be obsessed and excited about tanking for a draft pick. That's one place. The second place face painters and fans and a lot of media are going to go is they're going to be obsessed and excited about their new coach. Now, I can't blame people for that. I mean, that's the place you want to go if you want to find some positives in there. That's where you're going to go and somehow reconcile everything. Those two places. Neither of those, I'm here to tell you, face painters, to pour water all over it. Neither of those is going to work, and it's not going to end well. Sorry. It's not going to work out the way you think. In fact, I'm here to predict it's going to be far worse. Dallas tanking is silly. It's not necessary. I'm sorry. I can't believe this is not that obvious. They don't need to tank. In other words, lose on purpose or not try very hard because they're bad enough when they try. They don't need to try to finish near the bottom because they're near the bottom. They're as bad as it looks. They suck because they suck. It's a bad team. They're going to finish near the bottom without tanking. Stop it with that. And number two, one draft pick, by the way, is not going to save this terrible roster of the Dallas Cowboys. One person walking through the door, two people walking through the door, 5 draft picks walking through the door are not going to make that much of a difference. Dallas is doomed for a couple of years. 2.5 probably, maybe longer. If they could come up with some kind of blockbuster trade, okay, do you think the person in charge right now is capable of pulling that off? And do you really believe that anyone is as dumb as that to pull off a gigantic trade to give Dallas a bunch of picks and players and stuff like that? That most likely doesn't exist. The Herschel Walker move of 2024 is probably not going to materialize. Okay, so those are just realities. And you can try as hard as you want. I don't think it's going to work the way you want it to. And then the other part is, no matter who coaches the Cowboys, and there's big names, I get it. No matter who coaches the Cowboys, he's going to struggle because it's a bad roster that's not managed very well. So think of it this way. This is to really be a pessimist here, but I think it's realistic. The general manager, gosh, I almost thought there was more than one, but there's not. The general manager of the Cowboys is screwing over the coach of the Cowboys. And then that can be the current coach and that can be the future coach. They're screwed because the general manager failed the head coach. Here's the harsh reality. Coaching the Dallas Cowboys is the second worst coaching job in all of football. Now, that sounds like a hot take. And maybe you're going to say, no way, Ward, stay away. Where are you going with that, man? How can you do that? I'm doing it because I think it's probably about right. Coaching the Cowboys is the second worst coaching job in football. Mike McCarthy is going to get fired, or at best, Mike McCarthy keeps his job until the season is mercilessly over. Got it? I mean, Dallas wins 6 games, blah, 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 whatever. He hangs around. His contract isn't renewed. It doesn't matter. He's fired one way or another. He's not coaching there again. Define it however you want. It's okay. Dallas is going to need a new head coach before next season. We all know that. So there's no reason to offer him a new contract. If you didn't offer him a new contract when you were going to re-sign Dak Prescott, there was no reason to offer Mumbling Mike another deal now. That's not going to happen. So he's finished, and that's good for him. The dumpster fire that's the current Dallas Cowboys roster is not his fault. there's a lot to not like about Mike McCarthy during his coaching time, but that roster, that construct of the franchise is not his fault at all. He was screwed over by the general manager, and he's going to lose his job. Now, Cowboys face painters, before you start acting like some coaching savior is going to walk through the door, like all of a sudden you're going to get this combination of Bill Walsh, Bill Belichick, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, go down the list. It's all going to work out for you because somebody's going to come save your franchise by walking in the door. Let me say this again. Consider this. It is the second worst coaching job right now in the NFL. Think about what you're going to get when you're the second worst coaching job in the NFL. Gosh, Ward, what's worse? Cleveland, of course. Yes, Dallas, you're now grouped with Cleveland. And I'm pretty sure it's not that far off. The Cleveland Browns is the worst coaching job in the NFL. The Cowboys is the second worst coaching job in the NFL. So it's come to this. I'm sorry, face painters. It really has. It's come to this. And I'm afraid that you're going to get let down. You're obsessed and excited and think, forget the season. Let's talk about the coach, talk about Belichick and all this stuff. I don't know why many of these coaches would take the second worst job in the NFL. Someone will take it, but they've got no chance. Just like they would not have a chance in Cleveland. And yeah, I'm comparing the Cowboys' job right now to the Cleveland Browns. The reason the Browns' coaching job is worse than Dallas is the management in Cleveland is just as dumb. It screws up just about everything. That management is just as meddling. They've got issues too. You just don't see and hear them as much. But it's a meddling, incompetent management staff. The management in Cleveland is just as incompetent as the management for your Dallas Cowboys. Then you throw in the Deshaun Watson nightmare contract, and the scale is tipped because a lot of screwed up management things are sort of on an even scale. The Browns and Cowboys have the similar types of problems. Now, Dallas doesn't have this problem. This is why the Cleveland Browns coaching job is the worst coaching job in the NFL. Dallas is number 2. But the Deshaun Watson contract, easily the dumbest contract in sports history, that's what tips things to Cleveland. It was a $240 or $260 million guaranteed deal. No one ever sees him. He's hurt all the time. He's got legal issues all the time. It's just a dumpster fire. So that's why Cleveland is worse. And plus, it's in Cleveland. But like Dallas, though, Cleveland has a few talented players. Not a bunch, but they've got a few. Dallas has a few. They got some star players. They gave all their money to their star players. But unlike Dallas, the Browns have the worst karma in all of sports. They've almost always sucked. And they don't really have and know any other way. I mean, it feels bad all the time for Cleveland. Dallas, look, say what you want about Dallas, and I do think it's a terrible coaching job and a terrible roster and a terrible management right now. All of it makes it the second worst coaching job. But at least in Dallas, at least there's some history. You can look at the old trophies a little bit at least. In Cleveland, you've got nothing. In Dallas, it's a distant memory of winning, but in Cleveland, there's no memory of winning. Cleveland is the dark hole of football. Dallas is just the second worst coaching job in the NFL right now. So whoever takes over for Dallas, I'm sorry. I know this is an exciting thing. Every talk show host, every neck-bearded host wants to just move on and talk about the next coach. The next coach is going to do this and tinker with these plays and this defensive scheme. Look, whoever takes over for Dallas is doomed to fail. They're going to fail. They're crazy for taking the job, too, but they're doomed to fail. The roster doesn't give them a chance.